What if our emerging adults could graduate from college and launch straight into a career they love with clarity, confidence, and a plan? Too many students leave high school with a diploma, but no direction. According to Fortune magazine, over 4 million Gen Zers are considered NEETs, NEETs, not in education, employment, or training. That's where Tonda Bean comes in. Tonda is on a mission to help families stop guessing and start guiding their kids toward real world success starting now. Imagine having a system that connects your teen's strengths, interests, education, and experiences into one clear path forward. Tonda has created that system, and it has helped over 1,000 families do just that. With master degrees in business and organization development, Tonda is the founder of Wisdom in Minutes, author of the Life Launch Prep Workbook Series, the Life Launch Prep Workbook Series, and a respected speaker and coach. Her proudest accomplishment? Using her own system on both of her children and seeing them graduate from NYU and Harvard and stepped right into meaningful careers. And that's one of them there with the camera. Get ready to take notes, because what Tonda shares today could change how you prepare students for success. Please welcome my dear friend, the College and Career Launchpad Coach, Tonda Taylor Bean.
Thank you, Shanga Beret. Thank you, Sophia, for being here as a friend. Thank you, Kristen from PEP, the Parent Encouragement Program. And thank you, Asante, for being here to help me. So here's the thing. I always like to let you know, when I ask you something, I'm actually expecting you to give me a reaction. This is an interactive sort of thing. I don't really lecture. I just kind of have a conversation. And so before we get into the next piece, let me tell you what we're going to do today. Today, what we're going to look at is the big picture of education. And then we're going to go into what the results have been of our process, the results, and then some things that I think we really need to do in order to make this work better on a one-on-one basis. What I always tell people is that changing the system is like trying to turn an ocean liner, but changing what goes on house to house is like trying to drive a canoe. You can do what you want to do today. So after we talk about the strategy that really changes our direction, I'll be asking for feedback. I'll give you some questions, and then I will give you an invitation and final thoughts. Everybody clear? Thank you. Okay, there we go. Say something. Okay. So before we get into the agenda, I always like to know who's in the room with me. So here's a question. How many parents are in the room? Raise your hand for me. Okay, good. Parents of teens? Parents of teens? Okay. People who remember being teens. All right. Okay. So we're all in this together. Now, as a teen, we do a lot of college prep. Do you remember that? All this college prep, all this taking tests. I remember taking the PSAT. And when I took the PSAT, colleges started contacting me. Wow. And they started asking one particular question. What is your major? What will be your field of study? I didn't know. Nobody been talking to me about that. Had anybody been talking to you about that in high school? Not really, okay? But all of a sudden in college, they want you to know this. So I said, okay, I need some input. I asked my parents, what is this major thing they're talking about? They said, oh, That's where your career meets your education and your major. Career? Oh, I need to talk about career. I didn't have that either. All right. So what are we going to do? Need some counseling. Counselor, go to my counselor, guidance counselor, right? Said, okay, what do I need to do to know what my career should be? She said, you can take this test. It will help you. Took the test. Test said, name 3 things you think you might want to do. I named the 3 things. And the test came back and it said, yup, you could do that. Well, that wasn't helpful. But I had 3 things. So I started looking at them closer. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. Started looking at law. They spend their time making arguments. They research arguments. They give arguments. I said, I don't think I want to spend that much time in arguing. Okay, not that. My mother was an English teacher, so I asked her, Mama, what do you think about my becoming a teacher? She said, no, don't you do that. She said, there's not enough respect. There's not enough money, and it's not getting better. Wow, okay, not that. Third thing, my father was a civil engineer. I said, Daddy, what do you think about my becoming an engineer? He said, oh, honey, you could love being an engineer. You can do all kinds of things as an engineer. What do you like in school? Oh, well, I like history and chemistry. Boom. I'm a chemical engineering major. All right. And I'm grinding. Okay. And I am not having a good time, but it's okay because winners never quit and quitters never win. And I'm going to stick with this and we're going to keep going. And I did until the second semester, sophomore year. And there was a trip on a Saturday at 8:30 in the morning to go and see a chemical plant. And I said, okay, I'm going to go and see my future. Yeah. And I'll feel really better encouraged about staying with this process. And so we went and we walked all over the chemical plant and we talked to the people and we asked our questions. And I had this feeling. Tell me if you've had this feeling. This is not it. You had that feeling? Oh my gosh, this is not it. All right. So, but on the way home, I had this splitting headache because I was going to have to tell my daddy. And he was so happy about that whole engineering thing. Oh my goodness. We went through it. It was okay. And I bounced over to the School of Business and they said, oh, yeah, you can come over here. No problem. But we don't need this math. We don't need this science. We don't need these engineering things. By the time you finished, you would be a second semester freshman at the beginning of your 3rd year. Oh my goodness. So I did a whole lot of grinding that summer and I became a sophomore for a 2nd year. Isn't that lovely? Okay. Here's the thing. Being in the wrong major cost me. It cost me a full ride scholarship. It cost me extra time. It cost my parents money they weren't going to have to pay. And it cost a piece of my self-confidence. Because how could I have been so wrong? So I said to myself, when I married and I had children, I said, we are not doing that again. We're going to do something different. And I decided I had to understand what was going on. So I took parenting classes. The best classes I took were from PEP. And if you want to talk to Kristen about really getting well-adjusted children, it's a really good idea. And I took so many classes at PEP, I wound up on the board of directors there. Okay. I took leadership roles in the PTAs on all levels so that I could understand what was going on in the school and in the school system. I took on leadership of a Girl Scout troop for over 10 years and got on-the-ground experience and training in youth development. Okay. So when I got through with all that, there was a whole question. What are we going to do that's different? What are we going to do differently? And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So let's look at the education process. Right now, we have 13 years of school to get a high school diploma. 13 years. By the time a child is in high school, they've been in school for more than 2/3 of their lives. After that, you have an undergraduate degree, which is 4 to 6 years. It's nominally 4 years, but most people don't take just 4 years. Dirty little secret. Okay? So we're talking about 17 years, 18 years of schooling. Stephen Covey talks about we should begin with the end in mind in his landmark book. So here's my question to you. Why are we sending children to school for this long? What's the goal that we're working for? What is it? Huh? JOB. What else? What you got? So we can have employees. Exactly. We're looking actually for independent adulthood. Yes? We want them up and out. We don't want them just, kind of sitting with us. So here's the question. How's this working? There's a gap that we've been ignoring. There's a gap between student life and independent adulthood. School gets you right up to the edge of that gap. They say, congratulations. See you later, bye. And you get to go, what? Oh, I beg your pardon? Okay. They tell the parents, we're handling this. And then graduation day, they say, all yours. See you later, bye. Okay. So there's a question of who needs to be involved, who needs to be doing what. Here's what the results are of what we've been doing. There's a 40% college dropout rate, and all the sources are on the bottom, so you can check me. But okay, that 40% college dropout rate, that means a lot of people are picking up the debt without picking up the lift in salary. That's what a dropout rate does for you. Okay? It's a problem. Then the average graduation rate is actually 6 years, not 4 years. 6 years, not 4 years. If you're in a in-state college tuition, the average is $27,000 a year. So if you go that extra 2 years, you just added over $50,000 to the cost of your tuition, to the cost of that scholarship, that degree. That's a problem. And it's something most people are not planning for. And then we have 52% of recent graduates are underemployed, meaning that they are holding positions that do not require the degree that they have. 52%. Now, what that means, if you're underemployed, is that it impairs your ability to move on with life. And according to the journal Inside Higher Education, if you start underemployed, your odds, 75% of people who start underemployed are still underemployed in 10 years into their career. So this has a long tail on it. Okay? Yeah. It means that you may be working, but you won't necessarily be able to leave home. You won't necessarily be able to buy a car. You won't necessarily be able to start a family. All those things that really would be nice to start the first 10 years after you graduate, you may not be able to do that if you're underemployed. So here's the thing. This reality is so prevalent that they've started a new classification for people. They call them NEETs. Not in education, employment, or training. And that refers to people who are especially in this 6 to 12 months that it takes to get a job after your first your first job after graduation. That's a long while. So let me ask you, as you look back and you look forward to your child graduating, was it okay for you to graduate and take up residence on your parents' couch for a year? Raise your hand if that was okay, if you thought that would be all right. No, no. Okay. There's one person. You see, one, two. You see that it's a problem. I actually don't want to do that. You may have to do that, but this is a problem that can be avoided with a different strategy. We have to keep in mind that the real mission here is not graduation. The real mission goes beyond graduation. The mission of the school is graduation, but the mission of parents and students is to cross that gap and reach the land of independent adulthood. Different goal, different strategies, different vision. So, what happens? You need a different strategy. The way you approach your education makes a big difference, a huge difference. The amusement park approach is the way I term the usual way that we approach education. You're in eighth grade and you're going to ninth grade. Yeah, okay. You going to college? Yeah, I'm going to college. That'll be great. Everybody asks you, oh, what college are you going to? You know, the way they ask about an amusement park. And you say, oh, I'm going to Six Flags. They go, oh, that's really nice. You say, oh, I'm going to Busch Gardens. They go, oh, that's lovely. You say, oh, I'm going to Disney. They go, ooh, you are going to have a wonderful time at Disney. That's beautiful. Okay. And the thing is, you're just really focused on getting there. Just really focused on getting in. Just really focused on the entry piece, because you don't have to create what goes on in the park. You don't make any rides, right? There's a piece, a disconnect. You don't have that personal responsibility for planning out what's going on in that park. Now, there's another way of looking at things, and I realized I had to look at this differently. And it's not success in college is not just having a good time there, which is what a lot of people kind of approach it. Oh, if you had a great college experience, you got the most out of college. But did you? Here's what my father used to tell me. If you want better results, use a better process. Say it with me. If you want better results, use a better process. The approach that I suggest is more of a grocery store experience. It's not just get there. If you're going to the grocery store, there's pre-work that you need to do. You got to prep for the grocery store. You need to be clear about your intention. You need to be clear about what you want, because we all know that in the grocery store, you can spend your time, spend your money, fill your cart, and then get home without the things you need. Yes? Have you done it? I've done it. Oh, I'm just going to stop by and get 2 things. And then I come out with 6 things. And then I get home and I say, oh, yes. So this is the thing. If you have that grocery store process in your mind, then you know that you need to get an intention clear. And once you're in the process, you need to make sure that you're doing the right things in the process to come out with this bigger product, that you're ready to do this bigger project. I want to have a party. Therefore, I'm going to the grocery store. Well, I need to know, what kind of party is it? Is it a birthday party? Is it a Super Bowl party? What's the party? And then I need to say, okay, to have this party, I need a cake. And if I come home without a cake, the party is not going to, the birthday party, no cake. So we have to have that idea. Out of this different approach came my success setup system. It's bigger than a grocery run. So it has more steps than the 3. But the first thing is that we dream big. We start to actually envision what you want. I want to have the party, right? Then you go into designing the blueprint of what you want that to look like. There are details involved. Then you have to build skills to support that vision. And then we prepare to launch. The launch is part of the original planning. It is not something we come up with in the store. All right? You have to have that launch idea before you even set foot on that college campus. You have to have that launch idea before you even decide which college are you going to. Because if you're going to have a party, right, with a cake, you need a store with a good bakery, yes? Okay? This criteria comes early, and we don't always introduce it early. But the success after graduation demands that you look early. So I came up with this whole system. And the question is, okay, so you got a system. That's lovely. Does it work? Absolutely, it works. I developed it on the ground because I had daughters. How did it work with my daughters? My daughters went to public school. I am not connected to Harvard. I am not connected. I'm not an alumni of NYU. I'm an alumni of Howard University. All right. Thank you. But my daughters said to me, we live in this area, and my second daughter especially said to me, Mama, you can get to campus entirely too fast. If I go anywhere in DC, you'll be in campus too fast. So I said, okay, fine. She went off to New York University. Okay, and she went to a program where she spent her first year in London. She got far. She wanted to be far. She went far. Okay, both of my girls, one and the other one who's here, went to Harvard. Both of them graduated in the 4 years. And each of them had a job in her field the week after college graduation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you can believe they had backup for that. So the question is that the kind of results you want? This is the kind of system, the results my system gets. Does this system work for Girl Scouts? Yes, it does. Okay. In youth groups. As a Girl Scout leader, this is a trip we took to Savannah, Georgia, the Girl Scout capital. Yeah. And each of my girls who was active graduated with a career target, a resume, and a general plan on how to get to their career target. A career target, a resume, and a general plan on how to get to their career target. So this is the early decision on what do you want, baby? What do you want? You're in middle school, you're in high school, you can have anything you want from where you're standing. What do you want? And we will start getting you there. And because the big outcomes in Girl Scouting are the awards, the bronze, silver, and gold. Yes. There we go. You know. Okay. We had 100% of the girls in my troop got a bronze award. And that's not surprising because the bronze award is done as a troop. The 100% of the girls in my troop got a silver award, which is better. That's even bigger because that's done in small groups. But nationally, only 5% of Girl Scouts eligible get a gold award because that's done on an individual basis. In my troop, 50% of the girls got gold awards. Okay. So does my system work? It works as a parent. It works as a youth group leader. It also works as a speaker and consultant working with other people's children. I've been actually offering this program to families, and I've do workshops in different places, and I love seeing the light bulbs go on around the room. It's so much fun. So I've reached over 1,000 parents. I've been on podcasts. I've been doing presentations, but you don't have to actually just listen to me. Because I've been working with other people's children, there are other people who know what I've done. This is Daniel Knight. He's a leadership consultant, and he was concerned because he had a grandson who wanted a specialized major that was available in their backyard and halfway across the country. He was accepted at those two schools. His mother was concerned about his going halfway across the country. That's where he wanted to go. She wanted to go to the school that was in their backyard. Working with the program, with my program, they were able to come to a common understanding about how they would approach it. And he is actually about to graduate from that program halfway across the country. This is Star Babatoon. She's a speaker and a trainer. And I met her daughter in college. She did not know what major she wanted. It was time for her to declare majors. There was a big rift in the family. They were having a little problems because they were trying to guide her. But one of the things, if you know about the need for teens to become independent, you realize one of the things that they don't want to hear is advice from mama. So there was a question about how to get this through to her. I worked with Star's daughter, and she was able to actually come up with a custom major. That was a blend of her two. And so she was able to actually have 2 internships, and she had a job waiting for her in her chosen field when she graduated. So today, what I want you to do is help me spread this message. Help me spread this thinking. I'm asking you to connect me with youth ministries, community programs, PTAs, PTOs, because this is the thinking that gets our next generation independent. This is the meat of my talk. I'm going to take questions. I would love for you to give me some feedback, and I'll leave this up as I take your questions. Are there questions?
Hi, thank you so much for that presentation. My question is, with the evolution now with AI kind of having this, phenomenon of what jobs will be relevant in the next 5, 10, 20 years, how do you apply that to your system with dealing with families and children and helping people think of relevant careers, taking in consideration this whole concept of AI taking over?
My system rests on research, on field research, actually. So we get the students out talking to people and finding out what's next in different fields. So as you talk to people about what's next, you'll find out who's using what, how they're using it, and what you need to know about it. Yes.
So just to continue, so AI wasn't even a field 5 years ago, right? And now it's the thing. And so we don't know what the next thing is going to be.
Right.
I think it was Fareed Zakaria wrote a book maybe 7 or 8 years ago called The Value of a Liberal Arts Education. And the premise of his book was college shouldn't prepare you for your first job out of college. It's preparing you for your 6th job out of college. Right. And to your point earlier, building the resume, right? And the importance of building a resume. My profession, I look at resumes all day, every day. The best resumes I look at actually are when people apply to become Rotarians, because they're just amazing people, but what you do see is they build on their resumes, right? They keep building and building. How do you work with these young people to talk to them about, you're not going to probably have your dream job right out of college, and you're not going to have what your parents have right out of college, right? And I just think that's an important conversation.
It is an important conversation, and it comes out because I get kids out talking. It comes out, they start to understand what ladders people have climbed already. And then they need to understand that they're at the bottom of a career ladder. They're not at the top. Nobody starts at the top. Yes. So here we go. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Kenny Barnes, and I've got a couple of questions. A little background. One, understand That's not the life of the children that we work with. It's the exact opposite. And I gotta make sure my Rotary Club understands that's not the life of youth in the city of Washington. It was not my life. I graduated from high school in 1962. I didn't go to college until 1992. Okay, 30 years. And I have a degree in clinical psychology. I can also speak from empirical or learned knowledge. And I lost a son. Not many people can say. So when you're saying all these things, and I love it, but it does not apply to Washington, D.C. And it does not apply to the youth in Washington, D.C. It does not. These youth do not have farms. They have school 50% of the time. They got an attrition rate of 60%. So, and they don't have Girl Scouts. There's no Girl Scouts in the city. That doesn't exist. Our program that we are doing is working on those issues with these kids. Because kids in DC go through a school learning how to read and write. We want to stop that. Kids in DC go through school. So that's the exact opposite of everything you said. And I would just like to know the opposite side of the coin. You see it?
Okay. Let me say, I am a DC native. I went to LaSalle Elementary School, Bertie Backus Junior High School, which is now part of UDC. I went to Regina High School, which is no longer there. I attended Howard University. I attended Girl Scouts in DC, and I was a Girl Scout leader at People's Congregational Church on 13th Street in DC. Now, here's the thing. There are many children in the group to whom you are addressing. And I am very happy that you are addressing that group of children. But there are also other children, and Black children and inner city children who are strivers. If we don't tend the roses, after a while, we will have no roses.
Come on now.
Okay. So I believe that you need to attend to both sides. And perhaps the side that you're working with is not the side that I'm working with, but both sides need attention.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela. My apologies for being off camera. I have an 8th grader who is very ambitious and has done a lot for his age. But growing up in the age of AI, I'm concerned about resilience and his ability to pivot. And my question to you is, in lieu of, what is your position in lieu of looking at perhaps traditional paths in terms of college, looking at vocational careers, apprenticeships, and even exploring gap years as ways to allow additional time for young people to explore what might be the best path for them?
Okay. The big question is, where do you want to go? Once you decide where you want to go, then you decide how you're going to get there. So if you want to go into a more technical field, of course, that's part of what you want to explore. The closer that you need to be, well, your launch date actually is the big piece. Your launch date is your big graduation plus 3 months, because after 3 months, your mama's going to get tired of seeing you on the couch. So if you know that your big launch date is going to be right after high school and not after college, you need to be closer to your decision. You need to be careful about deciding earlier in high school so that you know what you want to do after high school graduation. I'm not a big fan of gap years as such because they take away momentum. If you're going to do something that is guided, fine. If you're going to do an apprenticeship, fine, but have some direction. Don't just take a gap, take a purpose. Get yourself some experience. Get yourself into some places where you think you might want to be. And that can start even in high school because there are service learning hours now. And if you have to accumulate 75 service learning hours, it makes sense to do that in an environment where you might want to be a professional as opposed to just down at the library because it was really easy. So it's a big, an idea of using strategy. Again, we get back to strategy for how you approach the resources in front of you. And I would like to leave you with the thought that not everything we do has to be big and spectacular. It does need to be strategic because education, the success beyond graduation, demands education beyond academics.
Right.
I'm Tonda Bean.
I believe, Miss Taylor, you can't go far because we're getting ready to give you something really nice, something that it is a strategy. Okay. And we will plant a tree in your name. Yes, we will. And you will provide shade for others. And can we get a photo together?